Alex Pretti, the guy today, at a protest, on a street, helping someone who's being pushed around by ICE, exercising his Second Amendment right to carry a gun. He is hell-bent on massacring law enforcement officers. If you're towing that line, you're red-pilled, and you're not thinking for yourself anymore, and you simply don't value all lives the same.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Before You Speak podcast. I'm your host, Derek Peterson, drinking from a particular fire hose that I never want to drink from ever again, and processing it with my guy over here, Mr. Elwyn Hutter.
Yeah, semi-real-time processing today. The fire hose of both our news feeds, I'm sure, is filled with fucking ice bullets.
Yeah, that, and I mean, we're doing this kind of emergency pod because freaking Pittsburgh Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy as their head coach. Another Mike after all these years.
Incredibly, I missed that.
You missed it? No. That'll probably be the only joke told today on this podcast.
No, I have a couple bangers. I don't. I have no bangers.
I was going to say, it's kind of hard to have a banger when we just watched a guy get murdered by half a dozen police officers kicking the shit out of him for trying to help a woman up that was just pushed over by a miniature man. So, where do you want to start with this one, Ellen? I'm struggling
right
today,
there,
bro.
No, I think right there. I think I mean, I went to law school, which means I have a fucking particular disease of my brain that's called diseased lawyer brain. So it's like, fuck, man. What I worry about is that we're going to get lost in the morass of a discussion about whether or not this was actual murder, legally murder. And who cares, right? Who cares? This was an extrajudicial killing by one of half a dozen armed state enforcement officers, state thugs, of a nurse, of a guy named Alex Pretti, who was a nurse, who was trying to help the woman next to him, who was recording, who at the same time happened to feel like he had a Second Amendment right somewhere baked in there, which was clearly a mistake. So, my biggest fear, and with all these things, besides sort of meta fears about who's coming to my door, is that we lose the thread on discussing, was this murder? What was the officer entitled to do? Did he have a reasonable fear for his life? Who fucking cares? Just like with Renee Good, right? A trained police officer would not have shot him. He does not do anything that deserved him dying. Nothing.
He didn't do anything to deserve him getting the shit kicked out of him.
No.
Dude, he was literally had his back turned helping that woman up when the agent grabbed him, pepper sprayed him, and instigated the entire thing. The entire thing was instigated by the ICE officer. There was not, this guy did not show an iota outside of them when they started throwing haymakers, him actually starting to flounder a little bit. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't watch that video in any other context of being like, look, if you're going to come at me and tell me, oh, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, go fuck yourself. That is we have a First Amendment right to speak out against authoritarians. And this is why. And if you want to create a real revolt, this is how it happens. You murder somebody in front of our faces in broad daylight, and then tell us it was their fault.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he does have it is I joked earlier, my response would be, it's a free country. It is supposed to be a free country. He's got every right to be there. Every right.
And every right to be carrying a gun.
And every right to be carrying a gun in exactly the manner that he was carrying it. He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And if people are like, well, he was resisting arrest, maybe he was squirming around because some fucker just emptied 2 cans of pepper spray into his face.
Yeah,
You know,
and was
maybe when
getting
that
the shit kicked
happens,
out of him.
right? Maybe when all that happens, you don't lay perfectly still.
No,
I
you don't lay perfect. Look, if somebody's arresting you, they're arresting you. If somebody's beating your ass, they're beating your ass. Those are two very different things. And like, if you're being held on the ground by officers, it doesn't matter. The instinct as a man is going to be to fight back. There are very few people, unless people have practiced this exact situation where they can just lay on the floor and get the crap beat out of them by somebody. There are very few men whose fight or flight is not going to kick in and they're not going to fight back. I I would argue you put 99% of men in that exact same situation and they're fighting back probably even harder.
yeah, I actually I don't even think he was fighting back. I
Well, he
honestly
wasn't. He
think,
was squirming.
yeah, right. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago when the Renee Good thing happened, and it's always worth repeating. The people who should be de-escalating, the people who should be held to the highest standard, the people who when they kill someone, right, we should be putting them under a bigger microscope, are law enforcement agents. This was a failure of de-escalation. They escalated it from the moment it started, from the moment it began. The ICE agents escalated this to the point where, I was talking with Lisa about it, and I always try to do the thing where I'm like, well, let me look at it from the point of view of the ICE agent. And sorry, man, I can't see it. I get it. The guy had a gun, and I get it. There's a scrum, and I get it. That guy who took the first shot must have seen that gun get pulled out by the fellow officer, right? And seen a gun and fucking pulled his and shot. Nope, sorry. You're not entitled to do that as a law enforcement. That's bad training. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do it. It's wrong in every single way. There's no reasonable suspicion or reasonable fear here. You can see the cop who pulls the gun away, or the ICE agent, because they're not police. You can see him clearly removing himself from the scrum before the first shot. And then for whatever reason, they just pump like 10 fucking rounds into this guy. Like, what the fuck happened here?
That's a cop thing too. That's a cop thing. You talked about it, how they, in one of our previous episodes about how they're trained to write their reports. Cops are also trained that if you shoot somebody, you kill them, because them living after you shoot causes a litany of problems that is far beyond them being dead.
Yeah. So, like, I think there's a couple points that I don't know. I really hope don't get lost in this because I think they're important. One is that official government statement right afterwards. Just disgusting. Complete, complete set of lies. And at this point, at least MS Now was flagging it as questionable right away, right, and
Yeah.
saying, well, they've got a history of lying, but man, it just what did they say? He was brandishing a weapon and clearly intended to like commit mass casualty of law enforcement officers. The fuck no.
No,
Like no,
no, you cannot watch that video and come to that conclusion at all. They,
impossible.
it is impossible. And if you keep lying to me, like there is not an iota of trust left. And not only that, anybody that follows suit on this, anybody that puts up their argument, is a complete beta, and I will not listen to a word you ever say again. Like, I have zero interest, because if you can watch that video, then see the statement that they put out and not connect the dots for yourself, then you are a moron beyond anything that I am willing to surround myself with. I'm sorry. That's just how
Yeah,
it goes.
I'm worse than you about it. I think the best case is that you're a moron. The worst case is that you simply value lives differently based on political belief
Or
or
race.
whose side they're on or race, right? So let's compare some shit, right? Ashley Babbitt, killed at the Capitol on January 6th, killed while she was part of a mob, or certainly a very emotional group of thousands of people storming a building that's off limits to them and clearly the officers in that case were in extreme risk for physical harm. If there was ever a defensible case of an officer shooting at someone and killing them, that was it. She's a hero to the right. She's a martyr, right? She was executed by police officers. Kyle Rittenhouse, right, walked into a protest, a much more violent protest than this one, openly carrying a long rifle, was handed water bottles by the police officers who said, "Thanks for coming out and helping us. We appreciate what you're doing," before he went out and killed two protesters. Renee Good, sitting in a car, right? Sitting in a car, partially obstructing a roadway, says, "We're not mad at you, man," to the guy that less than a minute later puts 3 bullets in her. She's a domestic terrorist. Ashley Babbitt's a martyr. Alex Pretti, the guy today, at a protest, on a street, helping someone who's being pushed around by ICE, exercising his Second Amendment right to carry a gun. He is hell-bent on massacring law enforcement officers. If you're towing that line across those 4 examples, you're not a moron. You're red pilled and you're not thinking for yourself anymore. And you simply don't value all lives the same. And that is a really, really big problem that we have going on here.
Yeah, this is not a right or left issue. This is not a this is like straight just good versus evil issue. This
It
is
cannot be. It cannot be a right or left
it's
issue.
it's not there is no one like, and I'm so sick of people calling the radical left the problem here. Like, I'm so sick of it because the radical left are the ones that have been showing up peacefully. If this gets to a level that it's out of control, the radical left will actually then go radical. Like, there gets a point where people don't have a choice anymore. And that's what's scary about all of this. Like, our if there was ever a moment in my life that we can point back to, and this is a authoritarian playbook thing, right here. We are in the midst of it. This is Viktor Orban and what he did in Hungary. This is the using force to basically put the fear in front of everybody. And this is the moment that the American citizens have to stand up. Because if we don't, if we let these killings, which they're going to do, they're going to allow them to slide, and they're going to try to pin it. They're going to try to make the fault of the victim in all of this, and the entire objective is to create a fear so people stop showing up, because we are the power. People are the power. People, we have given them the opportunity to manage the power over us, but when people actually decide to take it back, we are a force to be reckoned with. And it doesn't even have to be violent. Dude, if people wake up to this at some point and just stop spending money, just stop doing, like, if we collectively, we could make change faster than anything else in the world. But I am at a point now with all of this. I don't know what's left. What's left other than violence that comes after this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is
Our
ultimately a
Democrats,
left.
the
Well, I think
Democrats
ultimately
have
it
to
is a.
stand up to this.
Yeah, but ultimately it is a left and right issue because the Democrats are a little better. I mean, the statements coming out today seem better and stronger, but until the conservatives and the libertarians see this for what it is and jump on board, then it's always left or right. And, to me, there should be each time these things happen, I hope that, people are like, "Oh, don't tread on me. This is exactly what's happening," right? And the fact that this guy had a gun and that he was permitted, legally permitted to carry this gun, if you're a Second Amendment conservative or libertarian, you got to be asking yourself, and you take the line of, well, once they saw the gun, they had a reasonable fear. No, 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 no. You have to stop right there, because what is the point of the right if exercising it gets you killed? Right? You have to stop and say, no, he had the right to carry that gun. That they found it on him didn't negate that right, didn't lessen that right at all. That's his right. That's the right to have it on him. That's the fucking right. So if you're conservative or libertarian and you're not looking at this and going, wait a second, I didn't give a shit when Breonna Taylor's boyfriend shot at the cops who blasted through their door with a legally owned firearm because he was black and I don't like them,
Yeah.
right? If you're one of those, now you got this. You could not have a plainer example of a guy in one very basic way of looking at this, exercising his right to protest, getting killed for it, exercising his right to carry, and getting killed for it. These are First Amendment rights
Yep.
and Second Amendment rights. They're the first two. And when you
Well,
exercise them now, you get shot. And until the
we're,
conservatives and libertarians get on board and say, no, yeah, you guys on the left, you're fucking right. This is some bullshit, right? This is Waco level bullshit. We're with you now. Then it's always going to be left or right, and we're always going to lose.
yeah. Dude, my phone's been blowing up today with people just with the sentiment of the same thing, man. Like, how much more of this can we take? How much more of this can we sit back and watch? How much more, how can we continue to play by the rules when it's clear that the other side's not, and that they actually have no interest in it? This is becoming more and more obvious that this is a grab for power. This is a means to silence people and to and to oppress. And the difference is, and I've seen a bunch of these right wingers coming out and like, why didn't they march for Charlie Kirk? And why didn't they? Because this wasn't Charlie Kirk's killer was found and arrested and is going through due process. That's the difference. The difference is we hire law enforcement to do their jobs. And when they do their jobs, we accept the fact that there are bad people in this world. Bad people do bad shit, which is why we have a police force in the first place. And so, yes, we relinquish that to them in those moments. We march when injustice happens. We march when a police officer does this to somebody and that there are no repercussions and that that's why we march. That's why we show up, and that's why we resist. And this is going to get worse, and it's going to continue to grow if these things continue to happen. Especially, they're lucky this happened in Minnesota, because if this happens in New York, those ICE agents might get boxed in. Like,
what didn't happen when Charlie Kirk died? I'll tell you what did not happen. At any of the hundreds of vigils and protests and gatherings that happened around the country, including right here in Texas and where I have my gym, lefty cops did not walk up, instigate a fight, and kill somebody at that vigil. That did not happen. Okay?
Yep.
That does happen here. The Charlie Kirk analogy is absurd. It's fucking absurd. Okay? Because it has nothing to do with the fact that Charlie Kirk, you're absolutely right. The guy is getting due process. He's getting his day in court for crimes he committed. He wasn't a cop. He wasn't an agent of the state. These are agents of the state coming in and saying you don't have these rights. If the agents of Biden's state came in and shut down Charlie Kirk and shot someone, problem.
Yep.
Right? Big fucking problem. But that's not what happened. But that is what's happening here. And that power dynamic, right? Like, they have the power. I don't think this is a grab for power. It's a grab for eternal control. They have the power already.
Yep.
And, until 80% of the country is behind taking that power back, we're in a tough spot.
Yep. So you think the Steelers make the playoffs this year? Mike McCarthy?
I think the Giants with Jim Harbaugh are going to the NFC Championship game next year.
Oh, I'll take that bet if there is a next year.
Do the Steelers have a quarterback? Do they have? I mean, are they bringing back Big Ben?
I can go on. I could go on 4 hours of this right now.
Timeline cleanse.
Yeah, I'd probably prefer that. But man, I'm glad we jumped on, and I'm glad we did this, because we are living in a crazy time, and there's a giant ice storm headed for Austin, Texas. So we've also got a lot. There's nothing else to do today but sit here and scroll our phones and talk about things that we're watching. So
you know who can straight shut the fuck up without the disclaimer about free speech and all that? Whoever said,
Exactly.
may you live in interesting times, shut the fuck up. I want to live in some boring motherfucking times, man. I want to
I
live
will.
like boring.
I will go back to a senile old man, other old man, if it means that politics are not at the front of my mind all the time. Man, this is just exhausting, bro. It's exhausting. So, well, we will catch up and probably update again midweek once we get our next episode lined up. So, thanks for jumping on, Ella.
Be well, my friend.
You too.